sometimes the words don't word, I think something we can talk about right now is I'm not sure if writing is as respected nowadays as it used to be. For a great chunk of human history, writing has been the only means to communicate something beyond a single person to a vast majority of other people. However, I think despite writing's great reputation for being the premier means to communicate thought, I think we're all better off learning how to speak very well. Why do I say this? As recently as the 1700s, people were writing their thoughts into essays, passing them around coffee rooms. The internet, so to speak, this integrated network of different ideas being passed around, was literally just people handing papers to each other. And there was a kind of prestige to being an essayist, which has since been replaced by video essays. In its heyday, there were so many essayists who were really, first and foremost, good editors. And I think we started getting away from the video essay format as pop media when we realized that these video essays weren't saying anything. And then we had to go back to learning how to make a point again, learning how to make an essay again, learning how to speak properly again in a way that isn't just emotionally resonant with editing, but emotionally resonant as is. But even if the skills of writing have become more and more important recently, I don't think that we respect writing as much as we do anymore. The academic tradition that I come from is English and literature. I'm very much a humanities kid. And I have always been patted on my head for doing a good job when it comes to doing character analysis and stories and all that such. But I could be writing the same thing somebody else did. And their point becomes salient and understood and enjoyed by many, 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 many more people. Because what they did was they used their writing as a script instead of as a essay. And again, going back to pop media, whatever is most easily consumed, most digestible by the most people, it's always going to be something that you can see, you can hear, you can taste versus something that you'd have to have the faculties to read, right? Even here, you're watching me right now under the pretense that my talking to you here communicates what I would have on a page. But how many of you would have given my ideas a look had I simply written it out? And this is not to disparage my lovely commenters. Some of you have written short essays in response to my exercises, and that's been really, really, I think that's been the highest form of flattery personally, that it drove you to write. But it also breaks my heart that, aside of myself, I'm not sure how many people are going to read it. Whether I respond to you, whether I like your response, whether I highlight it or not, I'll always read everything that's sent, but I won't always respond. And how lonely does it feel as a writer nowadays? Sort of waiting at the edge of your seat to be interacted with by other people who use the same language. It's almost like the written word has become a dying language. Like Latin, think Latin, right? Sure, people can speak better English, better French, better Portuguese by knowing Latin, but nobody communicates in Latin anymore. Wow, that's sad. People will always gravitate towards what is most digestible. And think about it like this. To communicate 1,000 words, that is about 10 minutes, if I recall correctly. I believe the average human listens or speaks at around 160 words per minute. And reads at around 226 words per minute, if my numbers are correct. And when I watch YouTube, I put it at 2 times speeds very, very often, which allows me to consume even faster listening, or maybe at the same rate as reading. So listening is always going to, I feel like is always going to beat out reading as a form of communication. As well as hearing me say it, there is a kind of appeal in that in and of itself, right? Well, not only do we want to hear the ideas, but we also want to hear who they came from. And the way it's presented, the specific kind of diction or the specific kind of intonation is what we come back for. The personality behind the text. I do have an idea of the kind of person you are based on what I read, but I feel like I wouldn't be able to make that preconception if I heard you speak those words first. I think that voice would heavily impact the way I see you. This is probably your come to content moment. If you're not already making something, if you're not already committing your thoughts and words to video and posting it online, maybe you shouldn't. I can't help but think that the video that drew many of you first-time watchers to me, I can't help but think that if I had written that and posted that somewhere, it would have gotten lost. I don't think they would have gained traction as text. And can you think of how many Medium accounts there are out there? Small journalists trying to build a blog up, only for people to have similar or parallel ideas, make it big on YouTube for that. I remember there was this really interesting video essay about the aesthetic of fascism in AOT. But I also can't help but feel as though the only reason I saw said article was because it was cited in a wisecrack citations list, which cite your sources, everyone, please. It enriches everyone if you cite your sources. Writing is introspective. Ding ding, 10 minutes.